Hey, this is Job Coach Kathy. Our strategic plan today covers mock interviews. Let's go to work. Biggest fears about interviewing. Not knowing how to start the interview answer. I've always recommended if you need a place to start or jumping off place, is simply start with about 2 months ago, about 3 months ago. Give the panel a place that they can say, oh, that happened recently or a couple of years ago, and then breathe and then move into your answer. Not having an answer. Yes, sometimes that can be a little stressful, but I will share with you here in just a little bit how to answer those questions that you may not have already had an example for. Saying that goes away if you practice. Wondering what the panel is writing. Typically what the panel will have is a sheet of paper in front of them and they are jotting down as quickly as possible your responses. Then after the interview, they come together and they talk about your answers. Let's keep going. Poor interviewing skills. The fact that you're here watching this video means that you're investing in yourself and your interviewing skills will be better, I promise you. Distracted by the previous question. Sometimes that happens and then our mind goes blank, but keep following these modules and I can guarantee you the tools that I'm going to provide you will help you with that. Knowing a buddy has an interview too. Especially in big companies, you might find out that a coworker, a colleague, a friend that you work with is also going after the same job. If you're concentrating on what they're doing, you aren't concentrating on what you need to do. So we're going to be laser focused on what you're doing. So one of the tools you can use to get better at interviewing is a mock interview. So what's a mock interview? A mock interview is a practice interview. It gives you an opportunity to go through a number of interview questions, fine-tune your responses, body language, and your delivery and presentation. So let's get strategic and proactive. Let's start creating your library of responses now. So give me a time when you had to multitask. That's a really good one, and there's not a single job that any of us have that we aren't multitasking. Come up with a good scenario for decision making. And I always suggest for problem solving, have 2 or 3 really good problem solving scenarios. Attention to detail. Change management. Change management. Everything's changing nowadays, so come up with a really good example for change management. And also safety if the jobs that you are applying for or that you currently had safety involved. Here are some other ideas. Conflict management. For instance, give me a time you had to deal with an angry customer. Communication skills, leadership, negotiation, presenting. Give us a time you had to present a technical skill to a staff member. How were you sure that they understood what you were presenting? Team building. Well, you get the idea. Keep going. So how many scenarios should I create? Well, more than 4 or 5, because a typical interview will usually ask you 4 or 5 questions. I would say consider building about 12 scenarios to be your goal, because if you have 12 scenarios together of examples from your past work experience, there is probably not a question that they can ask you that you won't have a response for. If the interview is a behavioral-based interview, then here's the framework of the questions that they will ask you. Tell me a time when you, how have you, tell us your experience with, describe a time when, and what you're doing is you're going back and looking at your work history and deciding an example that would work for each of those questions. Okay, let's practice. Give me a time when you had to manage or juggle multiple demands and priorities. What did you do? I want you to use the STAR method: situation, task, action, and results, and build a scenario for this, because honestly, there isn't a job that any of us have that we're not managing multiple demands and priorities, right? Here's another one that I would build a scenario for. Tell me a time when you had to deal with a difficult customer. What did you do? Okay. What gets missed on an interview answer? Many times what gets missed is sharing with the panel how you communicated with the supervisor through your scenario and chain of command. Also, the communication that you did while working with your team members in your scenario. Sometimes what happens at the end of the interview answer, individuals will forget to indicate that maybe they went to their computer and needed to follow up and enter in information into a computer, for instance, like reports. Be sure when you start that interview question and you end it that it's clear, because then what it's showing the panel is your attention to detail and that you do follow up. If there's any safety aspects of the job, make sure you include those. Collaboration with others. Maybe in the past positions that you've had, you collaborate with other team members within an organization or other groups, departments, or even bigger than that, areas throughout the state where you live. Make sure you include that collaboration piece. And lastly, and this one's a kind of a hard one, we. It's really easy to use the word we when answering those interview questions if you are part of a crew or a team, but I want to caution you on this. If you say, here's what we did, the panel doesn't know what you did. It's okay to set up your interview answer with something like, there was a team of 6 of us, and here's what we worked on. But here's what my role was. Be really clear to the panel what we did and then what you did. Details, details, details. But how much is too much? What happens if I get stuck in the weeds? You will not get stuck in the weeds if you follow that STAR model: situation, task, action, and review. I want you to provide enough details so you are taking Job Coach Kathy there with you. You are explaining the details to me. Also, you are taking that panel there with you. You're providing those details so that they can clearly see in their mind what you're sharing. Start your response library today. Write in a notebook or type in a computer your sample responses. Don't wait until you get the interview to start this process. So here's your action item. Start your response library today. Start with a multitasking scenario and also a conflict scenario. Start working on those to start with, using that STAR model. Remember, that's situation, task, action, and results. Okay? Please check out my other YouTube videos by Job Coach Kathy, and don't forget to subscribe to receive more job strategies each week.